The mainline 2D Mario games are fundamentally poorly designed. And if you're good at them, you're not going to notice a thing. Chapter 1, Fundamentally Broken. Let's start off with something you probably have actually noticed, the health system. Starting off, you can only make one mistake. You all know how power-ups work. Not getting a hit will allow you to experience more of the game, deal with enemies better, and making collecting one-ups easier. It seems like a good system at first glance, but it's that not getting hit part that dooms it. Being bad at the game, or just getting unlucky enough to get hit, will actively hinder your experience. Also, pits are very common in these games, which do not care what power up you have. The flaws of the health system are only emphasized by how you actually deal with enemies. The most basic attack is jumping onto certain enemies' heads, which requires you to get really close. Getting hit while trying to hit an enemy is very common, and they can just stop walking in some games, pull a spike out of their fucking mouth before you land on them in some games, and it could just be a tiny bit off, and you can miss a jump and get hit by a different fucking enemy since they're usually paired together. Keep in mind how easy it is to fuck up, especially with some of the game's physics being hard to control. The other way to reliably kill enemies is by having a fire flower, which is a power up. It allows you to kill many more types of enemies far easier and from a distance. Again, making the game easier for people who are already good at it. And with my last point, getting hit once will make it so that it is drastically harder to deal with enemies. This extremely anti-beginner design philosophy is apparent with the live system. I could and have ranted for hours about this. Dying on its own isn't really that bad most of the time, but a game over is devastating. You get sent back to the beginning of the world, and in some games, you start the entire game over. You have to replay upwards of hours of levels you already completed with no benefit whatsoever, just because you had the audacity to not be good at the game. You have to mindlessly play, or in the worst cases, struggle through levels you already completed. People have argued that this horrible remnant of the 80s game lengthening practices is about teaching the player. That's bullshit. Getting a game over is usually because of some shitty level with a shitty gimmick, or a randomly hard segment right before you can manage to save. Replaying levels isn't going to magically make you better at those gimmicks or specific obstacles. It's just going to make you want to play the game less. And another part of this whole mess is that one-ups are usually in hard to get areas, need a power-up, or need game knowledge to find. Once again, experienced players are rewarded by not having to deal with this horrible game over system, and newer players are funneled into it. Any Mario game that has a live system akin to one from the original game or the new series is automatically horribly flawed. It only gets worse and worse the more difficult or stingy with one-ups the game is. The game punishes players by not being good at the game, by making it harder to progress, harder to play, and much less fun. It rewards good players by making it easier and more fun, while bad players are funneled into replaying unfun and tedious level after unfun and tedious level. This horribly flawed system has been in place since games were less than 20 kilobytes and weren't very long. It was only intended to make a game longer, not the game any more fun. Every Mario game since then has sacrificed fun for tradition. Originally, I thought I just hated platforming games because they seem to love making you lose as much progress and be as tedious as possible. But not all platformers are like that. I started playing Klonoa on the PS1, and it's genuinely amazing. It's not mostly pits like a later level Mario game, and you have actual health that you can even get back. You can attack from farther away, and it has a story instead of just level after level. When I faced the first boss, my jaw genuinely dropped. It was actually unique. You had to pick up an enemy and throw it at the boss's tail. It had a fucking health bar. There was actual tactics, going under the boss, jumping over different obstacles. It was so much more unique than any 2D Mario boss I've ever seen. It wasn't just jump over or under it, or jump on it, wait a few seconds, repeat two more times. Nintendo is supposedly the master of platforming games. But this game on the fucking PlayStation 1, that is over a decade old by the time Mario Wii came out, is so much more enjoyable. It's not just mindless running and jumping. It's not dying to bullshit. And the worst skin this and the It's not just mindless running and jumping. It's not dying to bullshit. And the worst sin this game commits is only giving one life after a game over. This game's actually enjoyable to play and replay because it's so much more engaging and fun. Chapter 2, Mario Way. I started playing this god-forsaking hellspawn disguising itself as a video game. I do not say this lightly, but this is genuinely the most infuriating, repulsive, god awful game I have ever had the displeasure of experiencing. I had to enable infinite lives just so I could fucking progress. Most of the levels are not fun, even with the safety net of not having to start the entire fucking world over every 5 fucking deaths. All these levels are genuinely a slog to get through. The mid castle is so fucking close to being fun, but some fucking asshole at Nintendo said it would be funny to have a fucking fireball come out of you at fucking nowhere, right where you need to go. That's not even the worst part. The worst part is the fucking boss. Which, guess what? It stun locks you, and then fires at you, and then you fucking die. Genuinely, who thought this was a good idea? You have less than half a second to time a jump, so you can hold it for long enough to fucking dodge the fireball. After that barely tolerable level, there's an actually good one because it's short and unremarkable. After that is the fucking castle. I bet you don't believe me when I say it's somehow fucking worse, but it is. It's genuinely repulsive, sickening, maddening. These games are supposed to be so well designed, and this is your fucking standard? The castle itself isn't really anything special, other than it having no fucking checkpoint before the boss. The boss itself, though, it genuinely makes me shake with rage. I had to pause this horrid fucking game and write this part of the script just to get my anger out. You know that how the last boss stun locked you with very little chance of escape? This boss is worse. So much worse. You have no chance of escape. You are literally unable to press anything during the time it takes to wind up the stupid fucking fireball and fire it directly into your ass. That's not even the worst part either. Want to know why? Because this fucking asshole hits you twice in a row. You heard me right. This genuine fucking failed abortion of a video game boss will hit you, unlock you, and then hit you again because fuck you. This game fucking hates its players, and it sure as hell fucking hates you.